You ever try to help someone who clearly doesn't want to improve? They complain about their life. We all have that friend, okay? They complain about their life, their circumstances. They come to you, you give them solutions, but they don't actually do anything about it. It's incredibly frustrating. And I spend a lot of time doing this, a lot, not just with friends, family, the people that I would try to mentor, but also business owners are no different. The other coaches that were struggling to generate leads, make sales, whatever, I would spend hours with them on the phone, over on Zoom. I would send them videos of mine. I'd give them templates. I literally walk them through step by step what they need to do to change their financial position in life, and still they wouldn't execute. At first, I would just blame them for wasting my time. And then I would turn around and blame myself because, you know what, maybe I wasn't clear enough. Maybe I should have explained it better. But eventually I realized the actual problem was I was taking on a task that wasn't mine. It was around this time that I read this book called The Courage to Be Disliked. And it's based around Adlerian psychology. And there's a concept in this book called the separation of tasks. I want to break it down in this video. If you're listening to this over on Spotify or all the other fun stuff, kudos to you. Probably should watch the video as well over on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, do me a favor. If you like stuff like this, hit the like button, comment, let me know your thoughts about this. But I want to break down the concept that is the separation of tasks. Okay, this concept comes, like I said before, from the book, The Courage to Be Disliked. It basically says most of us deal with stress that actually isn't ours. It comes from carrying someone else's bullshit, basically. Their emotions, their lack of follow-up, their fear. But here's the key. You have to be able to know your own tasks, separating that from everybody else. There are things that other people are responsible for and things that you are. And when those wires get crossed, that's when stress comes up, frustration, anger, all the other emotional things on the spectrum, right? That impacts you to be able to have a happy and joyful life. When I started applying it to business, though, that's when everything in my life changed. I started realizing that at the end of the day, my job as a consultant, my job as someone people hire is to guide. It's to coach, it's to tell, here's the steps you need to do. Whether they ghost me after that or whether they don't follow through, that is their task. It is simply up to them, not for me. You can encourage, you can support, you can provide all the ways that they can overcome the excuses and problems they have, but at the end of the day, they have to do the work. And this even is true for agency owners. I know some people are like, yeah, but I'm an agency. I literally do all the work for them. No, there's still some things they have to do, whether that's showing up to the calls with you, whether that's providing you with copy, whatever the things may be, there is still something that they have to be responsible for. If they don't follow through on that, it's not your fault. It's the moment that you try to take on someone else's task, you're robbing them of the potential growth. And again, relating back to the book, The Courage to Be Disliked, the famous kind of example they give is the kid who won't study. Again, imagine you have a son or daughter, and despite the fact that you spend hours with them and you're trying to get them to study, and they won't study, it frustrates you. You get angry at them. You yell at them, hey, why won't you study? You know how important school is. You go through the whole thing. That then pulls away the relationship between you and your kid. They start to resent you, start to hide things from you, lie to you, tell you they did the homework when they didn't do the homework. All these other issues come up when, according to Adlerian psychology, that is their task. You can guide, you can offer support, but at the end of the day, the task is theirs to study because who owns the outcome? That is the biggest differentiator or the biggest way to understand if it's your task or not. Who gets the end result? Well, in this case, the student studying gets the grade. Because of those grades, it determines in some cases how well they do in their career. The result is theirs. Therefore, it's their task. Getting away of their task gets in the way of them being able to grow, being able to overcome adversity, learn how to study, their best way of studying and all of that. And it's hard to hear, I think, as parents sometimes, because we're like, no, it's my task to help this kid grow up. I'm the parent. No, there is a cutoff to that. And that cutoff is when they start doing tasks that they themselves, and only them, are the bearer of that result for. Them getting good grades in school doesn't do anything for you as a parent. Now, obviously, this is just one example. There's plenty of others out there. And I think about this from the lens of business a lot, but also has helped me in my personal life. But how it changed my business is I stopped obsessing over whether people used what I taught. I stopped checking in 15 billion times to make sure they built the funnel or wrote the content. I gave them the plan, I gave them the templates, I gave them the support, and then I let go. And then I also made this rule of not forcing them to utilize me. Meaning, at the end of the day, I offer the support. If they ask for more, I give them more. And I think even more so, let's take away if someone pays me or not. Even if it's free, even if someone just reaches out asking for advice, I love doing that. But my main thing is, did they execute? And then I won't give them more. I think about my friend Evan Carmichael and Joe Polish. They have given me a lot of advice, tons of advice for free. And the reason they tell me why they do this is because I execute on it. I'll report back to them, hey, you told me to do this. I implemented it. Here's the results. And so they'll give me more. And that's, I think, a good boundary you can set. It's my task, my want to give back and to mentor and to work with my clients. But at the end of the day, the end result is theirs. They're the one that are going to grow their business and all that. So I have to kind of put up a boundary, if you will. And it allowed me to stop resenting clients. I used to have these clients that, again, I would do everything for. They wouldn't execute, and it would drive me up a freaking wall. And I didn't like work with them anymore. So now I just have that boundary. Hey, this is what I do. If they don't execute, again, that's on you. It gave me actually a lot more energy to work with people that actually wanted to win, that wanted to do something. I wasn't exhausted anymore working with the annoying clients and the clients that didn't execute, and it gave me a lot more time, space, and energy to work with people that did. Now, again, like I said before, this is not just about business, it's also on a personal level. So it also helped me be a better husband and a better father, a better friend in general. So, and maybe it's just us guys, but for the guys that are watching this, it's really hard when your wife or significant other says, hey, I have this problem, not to go into logic mode, not to go into fix it mode. Hey, all you got to do is blah, blah, blah. We all know that doesn't actually work. What this did was when my wife was in a bad mood, for example, or something was going on in her life, I realized it wasn't my job. It wasn't my task to fix that mood. My job was just to support. And again, I'm not perfect at this yet. I want to make sure this is clear so that when my wife watches this video, she doesn't go, hey, what is he talking about? He's not perfect. I know I'm not perfect at this yet, but I'm working on it. The idea is that if I separate out the task and I realize, hey, at the end of the day, is her job, her task to control her mood, to be able to deal with it. My job is simply to support. Our relationship a lot better. Because I wasn't taking it personally that she was in a bad mood. I wasn't taking it personally that somebody pissed her off because they cut her off or something, right? As a dad, right, I would panic in some cases when my kids didn't eat or when they were really upset. I would take that on as that I needed to immediately change their behavior. I needed to immediately change their emotions. But at the end of the day, like I think about this from the food. This is a really silly example, but I used to get really, really upset when my son wouldn't eat. I'd make him a bunch of food and he would take like 2 nibbles and then he'd be done. And now it would drive me up a freaking wall. I don't know why. Because in my head, my task was I need to make sure my son eats, when in fact, I just kind of dropped it one level below. I said, no, my job is to make sure my son has access to food, the roof over his head, has clothes on his back and all that. It's his task to eat, because at the end result of that is that he's full and he's fine. And what happened was, because imagine that anxiety that I was creating for my son. I was yelling at him about not eating. I was really, really frustrated because he wouldn't eat. This is maybe when he was like 2 or 3 years old. So obviously there's no context for him to understand why I'm so frustrated. And the moment that I just simply said, hey, this is what you have. If you eat it, cool. If you're full, just walk away. No big deal. We're done. I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm just simply going to do my part and you're going to do yours. What happened? Well, we stopped fighting about food. Now it's dinner time's a little bit more enjoyable. The point is, I started to see things a little bit differently. I started to realize I can support without controlling. I realized I can show up without taking over. That's the benefit of the separation of tasks. So here's a question that I think about pretty much daily. Is this really my task? If yes, I show up with excellence, right? I show up and I do the best that I possibly can. If the answer is no, I release it. It's not my job to carry it. Because again, you can only bear so much weight. At the end of the day, and again, let's go back to the business end of it. Running a business is an emotional marathon. You get ghosted, you get ignored, you get rejected, you get criticized. If you make content no one really likes, people shit on you in front of everyone, right? There's a lot of emotional things that just happen as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. And if you don't control what's yours, and take on stuff that's not. If you can't figure that out, it gets a lot harder. Again, I think about content a lot. I make content. At the end of the day, it's my task to make it, but it's yours to decide whether or not you like it or not. If you don't, no big deal. You don't comment, or you do comment and say, hey, I hate it, but at the end of the day, it's not my task to make you like it. It's my task to provide it. So I want you to tell me whether or not you think this is going to be helpful. I know for me, it definitely was. Let me know if you've read the book also, The Courage to Be Disliked. I think it's honestly one of the most impactful books I've read probably in a really long time. And this is one of those subject matters, one of those things that they talked about in the book that kind of blew me away, that actually when I implemented it into my life, things started getting better. Let me know what your thoughts are. Speaking of roadmaps, by the way, as I was talking about this before, if you're one of those people that say, hey, I really want to grow my business, I want to have a roadmap. What is the step-by-step process to actually do that? I'll put it in the link in the description below so you can check it out. It's the 5 steps to growing a coaching business. And yes, speaking of separation of tasks, it is $1. I'm charging a whole $1 for this mini course. And the reason why is because at the end of the day, I want you to actually use it. If you don't, no problem. But something tells me if you actually spend $1 on it, you're a little bit more likely to actually watch it. Go check out the link in the description below. And as always, I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.